Blogging website WordPress was incredibly useful during the course of the production. I was able to organise all of the work that I had done, all of the plans that we had made. I was able to keep track of all the work that had been done and needed to be done. If we hadn't have used WordPress in this way, it would have been much more difficult to review our previous work and our plans in order to ensure that we were on course to achieve our goals. And also would have been much more difficult to reference other work quickly. We would have had to type out reams and reams of evidence or of analysis that we'd already done just to reference it rather than being able to embed or link directly to our previous work. When creating my ancillary texts, I used the vector-based design software Page+. This was incredibly useful in terms of creating a professional structured layout using the tight guidelines and the snapping tool. Obviously, that was incredibly useful when organising different aspects of the page, but also in conjunction with the convert to curves tool. When I was adjusting the text of the title and details of our documentary in order to manipulate it into Channel 4's house style, I used the guidelines in order to ensure that the lines were all very crisp and straight and were structured together. Without this software, it would have been much more difficult to create a successful and professional looking piece. Now, for my other ancillary text, the double page spread, I also used Page+. Page+ was incredibly important in this process because of, again, the layout, structuring the double page spread using the guidelines, using the 4-column layout, the bleed, etc. was really useful, and so the use of this specific software was really important to my piece. Otherwise it would have taken far longer to organise all of those things in something like Microsoft Publisher, and would also have been less accurate. Obviously you can include guidelines in Publisher, but the Page+ ones are very accurate. There's the snapping to the guidelines, and also the ability to set out the 4-column double page spread layout. SlideShare was a really important website that I used during the course of my production, particularly in the blogging aspect of it. With SlideShare, I was able to upload and embed documents that I'd used or created onto my blog. So, for example, with the original script that I wrote for the 5-minute extract, I was then able to export it as a PDF, upload it to SlideShare, and then embed it into our blog. Obviously this makes it much more professional than just screenshotting it and importing a JPEG, but it also makes it more accessible for visually impaired users of our blog. They can download software that reads out text for them, and SlideShare is compatible with this, so they would be able to have documents like our script read to them, whereas with the JPEG, obviously that is pixels rather than text, and so it wouldn't be possible. I used the website for Creative as part of my research, and it was incredibly useful because it included a lot of detail about the Channel 4 house style in a publicly available webpage. The fact that Channel 4's house style is extensively discussed allowed me to accurately replicate it and look professional in doing so. Otherwise, I may have had to use the older house style where there's more wide-ranging examples out there on the internet. This wouldn't have been as much of a problem as the house style very recently changed. It actually changed during the course of our project, but this website and the detail that was on it allowed me to keep up to date with an ever-changing industry, as I would have to if I was creating a real media product. Newsworks was another website that was vitally important to my research for my ancillary text. It gave me a specific up-to-date example of an advert similar to what I had to create. This built upon 4Creative's discussion of the house style, because it demonstrated the application of the house style and the font and the logo and the logo placement and structure to a real media product in a similar vein of what I had to create. Adobe Photoshop was incredibly useful throughout the course of the production. For example, the photo of Jarrett in my double page spread I manipulated in order to make it more dynamic. while the photo of the Cullum Centre, I got rid of the Christmas decorations that had been in the window at the time that I'd taken the photograph. Photoshop allowed me to make more exciting visuals through image manipulation, including things like the burn and dodge tools, and also allowed me to recover from mistakes that I'd personally made in terms of not being careful enough with the mise-en-scène when taking a photograph of the Cullum Centre. It also allowed me to explore my own creativity, as with the two faces design that I came up with. While it didn't end up being used, it allowed me to demonstrate how individuals can have their outside persona, which they show to the rest of the physical world, and an internal persona that it's explored and experimented with and shown through the virtual world, and how they interact with people through the web and through applications and social media.